What's up, cinephiles? For this episode, we are going to review The Woman in the Window, directed by Wright. Now, if you are new to our channel, consider leaving a like and subscribing to us for weekly reviews of movies and TV shows. Now, Kevin, what can you tell us about this movie?
Okay, The Woman in the Window is based on the 2018 novel of the same name by J.A. Finn. And this one tells the story of Dr. Anna Fox, played by Amy Adams. She's a child psychologist who has this agoraphobia, which prevents her from leaving her house. She also has the habit of spying on her neighbors. One in particular are the newly transferred family called the Russells. Now, Phil, what do you think about this psychological thriller from Netflix?
Yeah, Kevin. First off, this is directed by Wright again, and he's the director of some great films, The Darkest Hour, Atonement, and probably one of my favorite romantic films ever, Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy. And it also features quite a star-studded cast. Here's Amy Adams. There's Gary Oldman. We have two Captain Americas here, Anthony Mackie and also Wyatt Russell. I was actually waiting for Sebastian Stan to make a surprise appearance somewhere in this movie.
And form the trifecta.
But unfortunately, he didn't. Julianne Moore is in this movie. So, positives. Of course, the filmmaking. This movie is really well shot. The cinematography is really top of the line in terms of Hollywood movies. There are some great imagery here in this film. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to stop with the positives because, at least for me, it ends.
That's it.
It ends right there. Because this movie is such a mess for me. Again, with this director and with this star-studded cast, it's a bummer for me that this movie turned out to be quite a mess, in my opinion. First off, let's start with Amy Adams. I really can't put my finger in it if who is at fault here, if it's Amy Adams or the script. But this character is just really hard to root for. Amy Adams' performance here, I really wanted some more nuance. But at the same time, the writing of this character feels like she's supposed to be this really bitter and this really troubled person. I just don't know if Amy Adams just went a little bit too far with the performance, or if that's the fault of, in a way, the director and the script for letting her go there. The biggest criticism that I can say about this film is that this movie is classified as a mystery thriller, but for most of it, I wasn't really invested in the mystery and I found no tension at all throughout the movie. Amy Adams' character is just portrayed as this unreliable narrator all throughout the movie. So you expect some things to happen and not happen, and because of that, this movie tends to have no surprises at all. Yeah, surely at the end of this film, there's some sort of twist, but that twist just felt really tacked on. I didn't buy that twist at all. With regards to the other performances, Gary Oldman, he is also someone who I think went a bit too far with this role, with this performance. Julianne Moore, though, was spot on. Julianne Moore was in this movie for, I think, for only a bit, but she really made most of that screen time because her performance here is probably the best out of all of them. Before I proceed with some of my issues, I want to hear your thoughts first.
I think we're going to land on the same page here. Positives. Okay, I do like the cinematography and the filmmaking style here. They're clearly going for an homage of the Hitchcockian films.
Yeah.
And you know, the camera pans, all those oblique angles, and the way they played with the light, the tricks, because this is the type of story where it gets more outlandish as the plot unravels. So you need to create a mood and some scenes here that will make you question what's happening and what's not. And it's true for the plot of this movie because it's not just a whodunit mystery, it's also a question of whether this thing really happened at all. At the beginning of the movie, it's clearly established that Amy Adams is, as you said, an unreliable narrator. She's on her meds. She constantly has wine. So I think that's clearly the best profile that you can get for what the movie is targeting for. And she has this almost disheveled look. Very pandemic style. And another thing that I do like is the production design. Wow, I love the mansion here. It almost feels like I don't feel bad for Amy Adams that she's probably stuck here for a number of months. Because just look at the house. Like, it has a messy Victorian look at it. I really dig it. And there's an atrium skylight.
I wouldn't want to leave that house
evening,
either.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happily stocked in that house because there's an atrium skylight. You definitely can get some dramatic light during the night, and she has a rooftop garden.
Yep.
Wow. So I think visually it's appealing. You know, when it comes to the story in these types of movies, usually there comes a twist, then a twist. The early signs, the red herrings are so telegraphed early in the movie that there's going to be a second twist here.
Yep.
And sure enough, I looked at the timestamp. Oh, there's 30 minutes left. So a lot can happen in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And when that thing happened, there's a shock, but it did not come from a genuine place.
Yeah.
It aims you to shatter your reality on what you think the movie is about. Something like Gone Girl. In here, it mostly comes off as a shrug than a shock, honestly. And maybe just because you're just not invested in almost any of the characters. Amy Adams here, I think she did her best. She threw herself into the character. Mentally disturbed, rooted with trauma. Something tells me that it's the director here that told her that this is the acting that she's gonna go for, because you can see the same almost loud acting from Gary Oldman as well. So I would have to put the blame on Joe Wright here. And also it does not help that the writing gives an impression that this is a flat character. So even if Amy Adams does a decent performance, some can perceive that this is a flat performance. Well, certainly it's not one of her best, but at some points, I think that Amy Adams was the saving grace of the movie. My favorite, though, here is the same with you, Julianne Moore. She has this friendly yet unhinged performance, so I do enjoy her presence here. I also like the kid who played Ethan, Fred Hechinger. I've only seen him in 2 movies, but something tells me that we're gonna see more of this kid. For a story that tackles and tries to empathize about mental conditions, I think it kind of jumps the gun too quickly. Initially, the first act, this is a story of what seems to be a crazy woman who's constantly undermined, who fights for herself to be believed in. It pretty much remains on a stigma level. When you come to look at it at an overall package, it feels forgettable for me.
You mentioned your reaction during the twist that it's more of a shrug for you. I thought the same thing, because again, you can see the twist of this film coming from a mile away. From the moment that she's introduced as this unreliable narrator, you know exactly where this film is going and where it's not. I don't know if that's it for most people, but that's it for me. So I just never really felt any tension throughout the film. And when that twist happened, I was more like, meh? Okay, I guess that felt really forced for me. Also, for the character of Wyatt Russell here, that character felt really unnecessary, save for the twist at the end. It's like that character was only in this film for that specific purpose. I just thought that they could have utilized that character a little bit more. And again, I also agree that in terms of discussing about mental health issues in films, this movie is just on a surface level. They see this troubled woman and it's just that she's really hard to believe. The best thing about this movie is its filmmaking, its cinematography, but it stops there. Julianne Moore, probably. Julianne Moore. I still don't know if I'm going to blame the director or the actors, but regardless,
but mostly the writing.
And the writing. But overall, in terms of the performances, everything just felt a bit on a higher notch than I would like. And everything just feels muddled. Everything just feels messy. For a mystery film, there's not really much mystery. For a thriller, there's not much tension. I am just going to give this movie a 2 out of 5 stars.
You know what? What I did after watching this movie is I went ahead and read the plot summary of the novel, which the movie was based upon. And they're pretty much faithful here. Even the character of Wyatt Russell is actually in the novel.
Oh.
So I got me thinking that maybe this is one of those cases where the novel does not really translate really well into a film. Because part of the problem for me is I want to care for the other characters, not only for Anna Fox here. I think it will disrupt the tone, the Hitchcockian elements, if we suddenly get perspective from the other characters. They needed to be viewed from the perspective of Dr. Anna Fox. So I totally get that. Plus, it's one of the requirements of Hitchcock films that the tension and most of the scenes should occur in one room, or in this case, in one house.
Yeah.
So we might be blaming the director here or the writing, but I think the source material here does not really translate well enough to a movie. Maybe as a page-turner novel, it would work, but not in here. It's clearly style over substance, and then towards the latter act, I'm getting campy horror slasher vibes, a bit contrived for my taste. So I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. That's the grade that I'm feeling as of the moment.
Okay, and that's it for our review of The Woman in the Window. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.
Also, let us know what you think in the comment sections down below. Maybe you disagree with us. That's okay. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Until then, see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.